Here's our complete iMovie app tutorial for iPhone and iPad. We're going to take you through step by step so you can learn how to edit videos with this easy to use free editing app in no time. All right, this is what you'll see when you first open up the app. Now I'm showing you this on an iPad, but the process is exactly the same on an iPhone as well. So down the bottom, you've got the option to pick Magic Movie, Storyboard, or Movie. With Magic Movie, iMovie is going to create a video for you. Storyboard is where you can use some preset templates to help make a video. But in order to have full control and really create whatever you'd like, that's when you want to select Movie. Now from here, you want to import your primary video footage. So you can see it's defaulted here to moments. You can also select video, photos, albums, or backgrounds in here as well to go and navigate through and find your footage. I've got my clip here. I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to come down the bottom here to create movie. So this is the iMovie interface. Up the top here, you've got your main preview or playback window here. This is where you can see what it is you're editing. We've got our import media button up the top here. Next to that is settings. There's also a help button here too, if you want to dive into that. But down the bottom here, this main area here, this is our video editing timeline. We can see we've got our video clip that's been imported here already. We've got our play button here to play back our video as we edit. And we also have buttons over here to record more content using your phone or your iPad in this case, and also to record a voiceover. So let's just press on the camera here to show you what I'm talking about. If I flip that around now, we can see, hey, I'm on camera. We can hit cancel out of this down the bottom. So we can see we've got our primary footage that is on our timeline here. If we select on that, then we get a bunch of other options and things down the bottom here, which I will run through as we go through. But the first thing we want to do is start to trim down this primary footage, start to remove any bad takes or mistakes or anything that we don't want to have in our finished video. So for this, I'm going to start off at the start of our clip, and we can jump back to the start of our clip at any time by pressing this button here. So we can see down the bottom here, we've got our audio waveforms on screen here. We can toggle that on or off with this button. Personally, I like to leave them on, especially if we're editing footage like this, we can actually see where I start talking. So I'm gonna go ahead and select this clip, just tap on it. And then as with most video editing tools, we've got lots of different ways that we can start to trim this down. With this clip selected, you can see it's got a yellow box around it, but on the ends, we've actually got this thicker yellow bar, this yellow handle. If we tap and hold on that and drag back to the right, this is actually adjusting the in point of that clip, or the start point. So if I let that go about here, our clip is now going to start at that point. Likewise, if we go to the end of our clip, we want to remove all this silence at the end. We can find the piece that we want to remove it to, probably about here where I finished talking. Now we can pinch to zoom in and out on this timeline too, just 2 fingers. And again, if we select on our clip, we get that handle that appears on the end, and we can drag that in to where we want the video to finish, somewhere around here. Now, the other main tool that you want to be using to cut down your footage is the split tool. So let's say that we want to remove this quiet section of our clip here. We can go ahead and drag our clip along so that this white bar, this playback head here, is where we want to make a cut. Again, we can select our clip by tapping on it. And then down the bottom here under the scissors, we've got the ability to split. And that has now split our clip in 2. So to remove that silence here, we could select this clip here on the right, grab that handle and drag it across to the left to remove that section. Or if I undo this now, come up here to undo, I could also add another split at this point. So we cut our footage at that point, and then this piece here is something that we don't want. We can then come down here to delete, and that piece has been removed. So you can see that there's a couple of different ways that we can trim down our footage. So what you want to do now is go through and trim down, remove any bad takes, any mistakes, anything that you don't want to have in your end product. So now that we've got our primary footage here trimmed down, the next step is to bring in any B-roll or overlay footage to go on top of our primary footage here. So I'm going to come up to the little plus button. We want to then navigate through and find our clips. So you can pick from moments, videos, photos, or any of these folders here. You can actually choose the Files app as well. In my case, I've got them saved under videos. They're under recently added. We can see I've got my clips here. I'm going to go ahead and pick this first one here. Now we can either just import this entire clip into the timeline, or we can actually select a section of it up here. Because we've got this clip selected, we've actually got those yellow handles here as well, meaning that we can just tap and drag to select out the section of this longer form video that we want to import. So let's say that we want to start the clip from about here where the camera starts moving. That's the start point. Let's grab the end point and let's have it play through till about here. We then get some options here. This plus button will just add this clip to our timeline as a primary piece of footage. So it would show up down the bottom here, not on top of our clips here, but next to it. So I'll hit the plus button here just to show you what I mean. It's now another separate clip here, meaning that if we scrub through, I'm talking, and then we cut to this clip. So there's no talking underneath. We can see the audio waveforms here. There's nothing happening. And then after this clip, then it comes back to me talking again. I'm gonna tap on this and I'm gonna hit delete to remove that or to undo that. Again, I'm gonna come back up here. Let's select that section of the clip again. So somewhere around here and finishing around here. So instead, this time, what we want to do is we want to hit the 3 dots. And in here, we get to choose if we want to have it as a regular piece of overlay, which they call a cutaway. So full screen video on top of our primary footage. We also have the option to do a picture in picture, a split screen. If we're trying to add that blue or green screen effect, we have the option here to do that too. Or if we just want to add the audio down into the timeline from this clip, then we've got an audio only option. For me, the main one that I use here is cutaway. And you can see if we select this, it's going to grab that clip, that section of the clip that we selected, and drop it down into our timeline here above our regular footage. So if I scrub through this now, you can see I'm still talking, this clip appears, but I'm still talking underneath here. You can see the audio waveforms are still there. And if we play this, everything from awesome free video editing apps, you can hear that I'm still talking there. Now this clip that we've just imported here, this actually behaves just like our regular clips, meaning again, if we select on it, we get those handles to make adjustments to our clip. So we could adjust the start time, adjust the end time. We could even split it in 2 if we wanted to. So we can choose split. We've now got 2 clips and we could pick one up and move it a little later in our project if we wanted to. And again, these clips are just showing above our regular footage. So it's back to me talking and back to the second half of that clip. Now the other option that we had up here for adding footage, if I select on, say, this clip, let's draw out a quick area of this, maybe this piece here, opening this little box, maybe till about here. Let's again hit the 3 dots, but this time let's choose picture in picture. Again, we've got our clip that's added down into our timeline. It's added above our primary footage. So it's an overlay footage or overlay graphic here, but this time it's added as a picture in picture effect. So we're still seeing the background underneath. So if we select this clip here, then we get these other options up the top here. So we can adjust the zoom of the clip. We could move it and scale the clip. So if we select on this, I can now tap and move this around the screen. So let's say that we wanted a little top-down shot over here of that happening. We can move that to there. And you can see it's also got this border on here by default. If we select on this clip, we can actually enable or disable that up with this option here. So pretty easy in here to add this overlay or B-roll footage. So you want to go through now, add in any of your clips that you want to have here to help build out your story. But for me, as I said, I'm primarily just using this cutaway feature so that it fills the screen full screen up here. Once that's done, the next step is to go through and add in any titles that you want to have or text into your videos. So for this, we want to come back to the start here. Let's select our first clip. Then down the bottom, we have the option here for titles. There's quite a few different presets and things in here that we can use as a starting point, and we can customize up further as well. So maybe for this one here, we'll choose split, and we can see straight away that we've got our text added on screen here, but we can also see that the text is applied to this clip because it's now got a little T logo down on this clip. So if we just tap up on the screen here on the text itself, then we can edit the text. So we can type in Justin Brown, let's hit enter. And now when we play this through, this is our complete roundup of the best video. We've now got that text that animates in. Now to make changes to that text again, we can just tap on our clip down the bottom here, come back over to titles. You can see that's where we are here. We can make adjustments to the text in terms of the animation or the style by selecting a different one, but we can also customize this up. So down the bottom here, we've got our fonts. So we could go through and pick which font that we want to use. Okay, throw them with this one. We can also adjust the color with the next one over here as well. So we can customize this up. I'm just gonna leave this as white, but you can also get more advanced with your color picker here as well. So if you do have a specific color or a brand color that you're trying to match, then you can key the hex code in here too. And we've also got control in here under this 3 little dots here again to enable or disable the shadow, to force if the text is uppercase or not. We can also adjust more with the styling here. in terms of this is just a default title right now. So it's put it towards the middle of our screen, and we can move that around, but we also have the option to style this as a lower third. So it's going to automatically make it smaller and place it down the bottom for us. I'm just going to leave this as default. And the last option here that you want to know about is this full clip duration. So you can see that we applied our title to this first clip here, but the title doesn't stay on screen for the entire clip. If we wanted it to stay on for the entire clip here, then we can select this box. And then for this entire clip, this title is going to be on screen. Now, in terms of picking this up and moving it around, again, if we tap on it up here, you can see we have the option to edit, to reset, to delete, but we can also just tap on it and hold and move it around. We can pinch to zoom on it to scale it up and down, and maybe we'll move it to about here. Next from there, we're going to add in any transitions or effects onto our videos. So between each of our clips down here in the timeline, you can see that we've got this little marker here between them. We can add a transition between these clips by pressing this button here. So straight away, we've got no transition applied here. The default is none, but we can also add, say, a cross dissolve. So if we play this now, trying and testing. So if we scrub through this now, you can see it kind of fades out of one clip and into the next. It's pretty subtle because these two clips here are very close to being the same. Let's press on that again. Let's try a slide. So if we look at this now, the next clip will slide on. Now, normally when we do have footage like this, where it's much the same between one shot and the next, I normally wouldn't add a transition between this. So I'm going to choose none. And instead, what I would do is I would zoom in on one of the clips to make it look almost like it was a second camera, a more zoomed in shot. So select one of our shots here. Then we're going to come up here to this little plus button where it says we can now enable pinch to zoom, and we can literally pinch to zoom on our footage here and move the clip around if we need to, so that the shot looks a little bit different. Now, I'd suggest not to zoom in too much, depending on how you've shot this and the camera you're using and everything. You might lose a little bit of quality, but just a little bit here should be fine. So now if we take a look at these two shots, shortlist. Option number one is, so after trying and testing all the time, we can now see that there is a difference between the two. So we've got our first shot here plays, and the next one here, it's just zoomed in a bit more. Now, in order to really sell this effect, you want to try and match up the position of the person's eyes if it's a shot like I've got here, so that it's not so jarring for the viewers. So again, we can select our clip, come back up here to this zoom function. We can then move the clip around to try and match that a little closer. So we need to go more over to the left. Let's select this. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's much closer. Down the bottom here, we've got actions, which is where we were cutting our clips. So we could split them, we could detach the audio, we could even duplicate the clip if we wanted to make a second version of it. But we've also got things like speed control down here as well. So we can use this slider to slow down our footage to our turtle speed, or we can speed it up with the rabbit here as well, just controlling it with this slider. If we wanted to freeze our clip at some point, we also have the button down here to freeze it, and that's going to create a static freeze frame of this shot. And we can adjust how long it's frozen for with these yellow handles again here on screen. I'm just going to choose reset for this one to get that back to normal speed. Once your transitions, your zooms, your speed effects and everything are done, next, we're going to go ahead and add in some music. So for this, I like to come back to the start of the timeline here, start of the project. Again, we want to come up to this top area. And if you're not seeing it, again, it's under this plus button here. Now, up until now, we've been on this media tab here. There's also an audio tab down the bottom here too. So we can go through and find any music that's on your phone or on your device that you can use. So whether it's already imported into the app or whether it's in the Files app, you can go through and import it from there. So I'm going to choose downloads. I've got a music track here from Epidemic Sound. This is one of our favorite places to go to find music tracks where there's no issue with licensing or any headaches or anything around that. And they've got a massive, awesome audio collection. So I've got our music track added in here now. And if we select on this, just like every other clip, we get these handles on the start and end. So we can select the section of the track that we want. We can come over here to actions. If we need to split this or remove a section, we could split it here. We could maybe select the first piece of the track. If we wanted to remove that, we could press delete. So it acts much the same as any of the other clips in here. Now, the other thing to note here that iMovie does that most video editing tools don't do is that this automatically crops off the end of the music track for you here once the video is finished, which I think is pretty handy because I don't think there's many cases where you want the video to finish but have the music still play. Now, in terms of actually moving this music track around, if we press and hold on it and try to move it, it really doesn't work that way. So you can see we've picked it up. I want to move it across so it starts a little bit later. It doesn't behave that way, but there is a workaround. If we select on your music track and then we come down here and select foreground, then this is going to change the way that this music track behaves. So you can see now it's gone blue instead of green, and this essentially has unlocked it. So now we can pick it up and we can move it around. Let's say that we want it to start about here. You can now see that there's no music at the start, and then the music starts to play at this point. So a little pro tip there for you. Now that your music track is in, you might find that you need to go back through some of your clips, maybe make minor adjustments to some of your edits to make it match the beat or match the music track. So you want to go through and do that now. And then we're going to jump into editing our volume levels. Now, for setting your volume levels correctly, iMovie does do a pretty good job. But what you want to do first is we want to set the volume levels correctly for any narration, any spoken piece, like this video clip here with me talking. That's the main thing that we want the viewers to hear. So we want to make sure that this audio here is set right first, and then we can adjust the music second to make sure that it's not too loud and not too distracting or annoying. So for this, I'm going to select the music track. I'm going to come down here to volume, and I'm just going to drag that all the way to the end or hit the mute button here to mute that. So all we're going to hear when we're playing this back is our primary footage. And what we want to do now is we want to make adjustments to this as we need to. As I said, in most cases, the audio here is going to be set about right for you. But if you do need to make adjustments to this, you can click on the clips, hit play, so you're actually hearing what's happening. And ideally, you're doing this with headphones on. And you can make adjustments to increase the volume up or down using this slider down the bottom here. And you can see that as we make it bigger here, that audio waveform gets bigger. Likewise, quieter, the audio waveform gets lower there as well. Now you could also use this as a guide as well in terms of setting the volume levels. You want to make sure that your audio spikes, or these audio waveforms here, aren't touching the top of that gray area. That would mean that they're too loud and distorting, and it's not going to sound good. So once you've set your audio levels on your primary footage, we want to come back, re-enable our music track or any of our sound effects or anything that we have imported. And we want to increase this slider to the point where it's at the right level for your video. And this really is a creative process. There's no right or wrong with this, which is why I'd suggest playing it back with headphones on, making different adjustments. Each music track is actually going to be a little bit different as well. Some music is much louder than others. So it really is a case-by-case basis here. But as a general rule for background music for our videos, we find that starting around 33% is a good place to start, to then move up or down from there. Now, normally the final step in your video creation process is to adjust any of the colors, to adjust the look and feel of your shots. Now, this really isn't a strength or an area that iMovie has much control over. But essentially what you can do is select on a clip, whether it's a primary footage or your B-roll or overlay footage. And the only real control you've got in here over your clips and how they look is down here under filters. We do have some, I guess, Instagram style filter looks and things that you can apply here. But it's really not like most of the other editing tools out there where you do have the ability to really dial everything in, adjust the amount of color or the weighting on certain colors, the brightness, the contrast, the exposure. You don't have that stuff in here on the mobile app. Once you're done with that, it's a good idea to play through your video and make sure that everything is the way that you want it. And then when it's time to save out your video, we can come up here then to done. We can give your edit a name. So we can select here, let's go test video. We can then come down here to share. And then at the top here, we've got this options setting. So if we pick options here, we're going to save out our video. We're going to choose the resolution, and this should be automatically set based on the footage that you were using. So I was using 4K footage, so it's letting me export here to 4K. But if I wanted to export 1080p or 720p, I could pick that here too. I'm going to go ahead and leave this at 4K. We're going to choose done. And then if we select save video here, that's going to save it to the Photos app area of your device. Now you can also save it to files here as well if you would prefer, but normally I'm just saving it here as a regular video to the Photos area. Now, one other thing I want to point out, if we go to options up here again, you also have the ability to save out your editing project here. So if we save out the editing project instead, we can transfer this over to our Mac and we can keep editing on iMovie on Mac as well. So we can transfer our projects. Now, one last thing I do want to mention is that iMovie right now doesn't really support portrait videos. So if I come back over here to projects and come down here to start a new project, we'll again go to movie, just the same as we did last time. But this time I'm going to import some portrait footage. So we've got this clip here that I just shot. Let's go create movie. This is what it looks like. It's scaled it up, but if we look closely, we're still seeing that this is actually a widescreen video here, whereas in reality, what we're editing is this portrait video. Now, this isn't ideal, but you can actually edit down your portrait videos in here, following the same process that I just showed you. So we can select on our clips, we can add cuts, we can add splits to cut our clips, we could trim them down, add titles, effects, and things all in here. We can even come up to the top here to this little reframe or the zoom button here, pinch to zoom. So we can zoom this out so we can see that yes, it is actually a portrait clip. So we can scale everything so that it fits properly in here. But then when we save out our video, so let's choose done. We'll come down here to share. Let's go to save video. So it's gonna save it to our device here. I mean, we can already see that it's got these black bars on either side of it, so it's not ideal. But let's go ahead and open up Photos. Here is the video that we just made. If we select on this in Photos, we can actually choose edit. We can come down here to crop. And again, this is the same on iPhone as well. And we can crop this down to remove those black bars. And then when we hit done up here, that's now created a portrait version of the video we edited in iMovie. Now, this isn't ideal because it is much lower quality, but in a pinch, this is how you could use iMovie to edit your portrait videos as well. But really, this is where I would be recommending other apps like VN Video Editor that actually have a dedicated portrait mode, and they're a great free option too. Now that you know how to edit in iMovie, if you're looking for the best stock music, royalty-free music that you can use with no copyright issues in your videos, check out the video linked on screen. There's also a video there around the best video editing apps. So if you want to compare how iMovie stacks up against our other top recommendations, then you don't want to miss that video. As always, there's a bunch of resources down in the description box below to help you, and I will see you in the next video.